LRDS at number 4. 4 athletes, Lewis, Pat, Carlos, Stan, competed in 4 races, R1, R2, R3 and R4. Each race is of 200 meters. Right? The flowing line graphs is showing the time taken by these 4 athletes in the 4 respective races. Right? So the first job is to calculate the average time taken by these 4 athletes in 4 races respectively. So the Carlos will take 8.325, the Stan will take 8.375. This is the time, the average time taken by these 4 athletes. These athletes in their respective 4 races. Right? So Pat will take 8.85, and when you calculate for Lewis you will get 8.75. Right? Now 3 performance parameters are defined for these 4 athletes. Right? And the questions were asked on these parameters only. Okay, so my first job is to calculate the respective values of this CV, PE and CI for these 4 athletes respectively. Okay, so like consistency variation is defined as the maximum time taken minus minimum time taken out of the 4 races upon average time. So when you calculate the CV for all of these players, you will get these respective values. Right? So in order to calculate these values, you can make the good use of the calculator which is provided by the CAT authorities this year. Right? Similarly, when you calculate the PE value for all the 4 athletes, you will get these respective values. For CI is basically the inverse of CV. Right? So you need not to calculate the CI because we have not asked any particular value of these parameters in any question. We have to just compare which is the highest or which is the lowest among all these performance indexes. Right? So let us take the first question which asks who had the highest CI. So highest CI will be of that athlete which have the lowest CV. Right? So the lowest CV is of Carlos, so he will be having the highest CI. Option A is correct. Next, whose average speeds for the 4 races was the highest. So I have given the distance of each race, that is 200 meters, and the time taken for each race. Right? So the average speed, let's say we calculate the average speed of Carlos first. Okay, so for average speed I will just calculate the speeds of that person in the 4 races respectively first, then I will divide that value by 4. So for Carlos this will be 200 by 8.5 plus 200 by 8.6, 200 by 8.2 for the race 3, and the last race the speed is 200 by 8. This value by 4 is your average speed for Carlos. So for Carlos, when you calculate, you will get 24.04 meter per second. Similarly, for other players, you can calculate the average speed. So you will get 24.34 for Stan, 22.74 for Pat. For Lewis, you will get 23.01 meter per second. So you can easily see that the highest average speed is of Stan. Option D is the correct answer choice. Who had the highest PE? So I have already calculated the PE value for all the 4 athletes. So highest is of Pat. Right? Option A is correct answer choice. Each of the 4 athletes was sponsored by different company out of Nike, Puma, Rolex and Adidas. So the choices of athlete was based on their performance in the 4 races. Nike sponsored the athlete with the highest CI value. So highest CI value was of Carlos. So Nike sponsored Carlos. Right? Rolex sponsored the athlete whose least time taken in a race out of the 4 races was lower than that of any other athlete. So the player who has taken the least time in all the races available, right? So least time is of Lewis, 7.4. So the Rolex sponsored Lewis. Okay. Adidas sponsored the athlete whose average speeds was the maximum. So we have just calculated the average speed. Maximum values was for Stan. So the Adidas sponsored Stan. The 4th athlete was sponsored by Puma. So Nike sponsored Carlos, Rolex sponsored Lewis, Adidas Stan. So the 4th athlete which is left out is Pat. So Puma sponsored Pat. Option D is the correct answer choice.